spend less than you make. You cut the things you don't need, you keep the things you do need, you keep the difference, okay? Budgets are very simple. There are a lot of different budgets out there. A lot of them work, but why is it that we can't just make a budget stick? We can't just stick to it for the long haul. And by the way, here's what I've learned. Whenever you have a budget and you don't have a powerful why, it'll never be successful long term. It's the reason why the first budget I used, it went very well for 6 months. I saved $10,000, which was my goal, and then I spent all the money on garbage. I could not blame the budget. It wasn't the budget's fault. It was my fault. If you don't have a powerful why, a reason to why you're having a budget, to why you're saving money, to why you're not spending on something, to why you're choosing to stay home instead of going out clubbing or doing something crazy out there, it's not going to last. So in this video, I'm going to give you a great budget, yes, but I also want you to have a powerful why. So whenever you want to quit, whenever you want to stop, you know exactly why you're doing what you're doing. And that's gonna make sure this budget actually sticks. Now, here's something I've also learned that I wanna tell you. It's that budgeting is not something you do during a period of time to achieve a goal. Budgeting is literally a lifestyle when it comes to money. It's the way you manage money. It's the system you're going to use from now on until you basically are not here anymore to manage your money. Do this long term, forever. Don't stop doing it, because if you do, you're going to go right back into your old spending habits. Trust me, that's what tends to happen. Now, the very first thing I want you guys to do is not to open up an Excel sheet, to download an app on your phone, or to start grabbing envelopes, okay? The first thing I want you to do is to grab a piece of paper or open up your notes, and I want you to write down your why. Why do you want to start budgeting your money? Why do you want to stop spending money on garbage? And I don't want you to say some generic reason of saying, I just want to save more. I don't want to waste money. That is just too vague. You want to be very direct. You want to be very specific. This way, when times get hard, when you get lazy, when you don't want to stick to it, you can remember, here is why I'm actually doing this. So some examples are basically, I want to pay off debt. Why do you want to pay off debt? Because I'm tired of being in slavery to my debtors, okay? I don't want to owe them any more money. I also, for example, want to save up for emergencies. Why? Because I no longer want to be just worried about getting fired. I want to have money, so if I do get fired, I have money there. I want to have investments. I want to save for investing. Why? Because I want to make passive income so I don't have to rely on my job. I also want to save to buy a home. I don't want to pay rent anymore. I actually want to own a home, not pay a mortgage, not pay any rent, just own it, okay? Those are powerful whys. And here's a little trick I learned a long time ago with psychology. Ask yourself why 7 times. The more you ask why, the deeper you're actually going to go. And that's going to help you, because you can have some generic reason written down. I want to save money because I want to be able to invest and have passive income. But if you don't know why you're actually doing it, like down to the core, that reason is not going to be enough. So keep asking why 7 times until you get to the end. And my personal why is because I want to have control over my finances, over my life in a way. And that's something that finances and money can help you do, although obviously God has control over everything. Now let's move into our spending categories, okay? This is exactly where you're going to be spending your money every single time you get paid. And there is one thing that's very important here. I'm not going to ask you, go check your credit card, check your debit card, see exactly where you're spending all your money, because in reality, there are needs and there are wants, and the needs are very obvious. And here they are. When it comes to spending, we all have these innate needs that we all need to survive. And that's going to be shelter, utilities, groceries, and transportation. We all have those. So here's what I want you to do right now with me. I want you to put down exactly how much do you spend on shelter, whether it's your mortgage or whether it's your rent. So let's say you spend $1,000 on your rent. Put that in there. How much do you spend on utilities? Okay, utilities are gas, electricity, water, your phone bill, and also your internet bill. How much do you spend on those? Quick tip, by the way, you can basically use this time right now to compare different plans for your phone bill and your internet bill and see if you can actually get lower payments every so month by just changing companies, okay? Try that out. It might save you a few $100s every single year. Now, on top of that, take a look at your food bill. Why do you spend so much money on food? Is it because you're always eating out? Is it because you don't know how to cook? Well, look into that, okay? I recommend just about $250 per person. If you're cooking at home, that should be more than enough every single month. And then transportation. How much do you spend on your car? Or do you take a bus? What about the gas? What about the insurance? What about, for example, the cleaning of the vehicle, like the car washes? Write down every single detail. And once you're done with that, what I want you to do is very simple. I want you to sum it all up, to add up everything. Now, once you're done adding up all those numbers, I want you to grab your income and subtract it from your core expenses. That's going to give you either a surplus or a deficit. Now, I know what you're thinking, okay? Tommy, when I'm looking at shelter, utilities, groceries, transportation, there are certain bills I have that are not included in there. For example, what about my health insurance? What about my debt payments and other things I basically want to do, okay? The answer is that's fine. But first, I want to calculate whether you have a surplus or whether you have a deficit. Now, let's say you have a surplus of $1,000. By the way, surplus means you have a positive number. Deficit means you have a negative number. Basically saying if you have a deficit, you're missing money every single month. You don't make enough. If you have a surplus, you have extra money that you're not spending, which is actually great. So if you spend $3,000 on your core expenses and your income is $4,000, you have left over $1,000. Now, here's a pro tip that a lot of people don't consider and they don't like, but I highly recommend, is take 5% of your net income, or if you want to be extreme like me, 5% of your surplus, and basically grab that money and use it for splurging, for fun activities or things you just basically want. So 1,000, 5% of that is about $50. 4,000, that's more like $200, okay? But the core idea is very simple. Here's what I've learned over the years of budgeting. If you budget too strictly, you might succeed, but that might lead you into a spending frenzy once you're actually done. Or if you budget too strictly, you may not make it because you'll say this to yourself: what's the point of me budgeting and saving all this money if I don't even get to enjoy it? So having a small portion that you actually use for enjoyment is going to help you out a lot, because at least it's going to feel like, hey, a part of this is for fun. And eventually it's going to be bigger and bigger. I just have to keep working. So what exactly right now are you supposed to do with this surplus? Well, here are where your goals are going to come into play. And here are the 4 goals I highly recommend you take on one by one, not at the same time. There are only 2 goals you can do at the same time, but every single other one, don't do it all together at once. Do it one by one. The first goal is I'm going to use my surplus money to pay off all of my debt except my mortgage. What that's going to do is basically means you're not going to have any more credit card debt. You're not going to have any more student loan debt or personal loans, any car loans anymore. Now, here's a pro tip when paying off debt. Decide whether you want to pay something off or whether you want to sell it off. Usually, I recommend sell it off and buy something cheaper. If I have an expensive car, I can sell that off, buy something cheaper. If I have something I don't need and I'm paying for with a credit card, sell it, use that money to pay it off. Now, goal number 2, once you're done paying off all your debts except the mortgage, it's going to be save up for emergencies. I'm going to use my surplus to save up for emergencies. Why? If you have a job, no matter how secure you feel at the job, you could always get fired. If you have at least 3 to 6 months of those core expenses saved up, well, that means you have 3 to 6 months to figure out exactly what your next move is actually going to be. On top of that, here's the third goal. It's going to be to invest 10 to 20% of your income and use the rest of the surplus to basically pay off a home that you already have or save up to buy a home. So that way you can actually be a homeowner and no longer paying rent. Now, here's a very pro tip that a lot of people are not going to tell you. When you're buying a home, make sure you get a 15-year mortgage. This way, you're going to basically be looking at homes that are actually a lot cheaper because 30 years means more time, means more money you can borrow. On top of that, make sure the home is no more than a third of your monthly income or 33% of your monthly income, and that's supposed to cover the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, and everything that has to do even with the maintenance of the home, and put that into your home budget. This way you can actually buy a home you can afford to actually pay off as fast as possible. Now, if you already have a home, what do? You invest 10-20%, use the rest of the surplus to pay off the home. And those are your overall goals of what you're supposed to do with your money when you're budgeting. Now, here's the last thing I'm going to tell you. Here are some practical tips I learned along the way of budgeting over years, okay? 1, don't use credit cards. Credit cards allow you to go over budget because you can spend more money than you actually have. Number 2, set a screenshot of your why on your phone. That's going to serve as a reminder of why you're actually doing what you're doing. Number 3, make a game out of saving money, out of trying to get your expenses as low as possible. And the last tip I'm going to tell you guys is basically enjoy the journey. If along the way you decide, hey, I want to spend more than 5% on fun, I want to spend 10%, do that as long as it keeps you in the race to actually finish off as fast as you possibly can. That is the idea, guys. But the overall idea, if you got to this part of the video, is basically have a powerful why. That's what's going to make a budget stick. Know your income, how much you make, and then know your core expenses. And then basically subtract that from your income that gives you a surplus, and have the certain goals you're actually going to be doing to actually pay things off as fast as possible. Whether it's debt, investments, emergencies, or paying off a home, have your goals written down so you know exactly the reason why you're trying to save money. That's it, guys, okay? That's the budget I use these days, and these days I save money, and the specific reason is because I want to buy real estate so I can basically make some passive income, which actually helps me with not having to work as much, which is my why. But again, my core why is because I want to have control. Comment down below and let me know if this video is actually helpful to you. I could have made a video saying, hey, do 10% this, 20% this, but at its core is basically knowing what you actually need, what you don't, and basically subtracting it from your income, and that's what you basically have left over. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, long-term team out. Peace.